then Kentucky might be the first place to look. From drivers who became champions to drivers who became stars. First-timers love getting lucky in Kentucky.
Seen a lot of memorable nights for a lot of young drivers in the NASCAR Nationwide Series here at Kentucky Speedway. Will tonight be another one of those as the field of 40 rolls from the pit lane out onto this mile-and-a-half track, getting ready to go for 300 miles in just a short while. One of the best candidates to be added to that first-time winners list is our ESPN in-race reporter tonight, and why not? Brian Scott's been running really well of late. Look at the numbers in those last 7 races. 5 top 10s, 3 top 5s, a lot of laps led, and he's got a great starting spot for tonight. He rolls off in 5th position, DJ.
Hey, Brian Scott, Dale Jarrett. Good for a couple of questions?
Yes, sir, Dale.
All right, buddy. Thanks for talking with us tonight. We'll go right to our mailbag. We had a lot of choices here, but Alex in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, asked this question. Does the recent success of Richard Childress Racing give you any confidence going into tonight's race and getting your first nationwide win?
Yeah, that's a great question by Alex. This Nationwide Insurance Series is really tough, and it's never easy to win these things, but momentum in racing is everything. I feel like RCR, ECR, we've got a lot of momentum. The team's picked up 2 wins the last 2 weeks, and I feel like we've got some momentum on this Shore Lodge Camaro, too. The guys have worked hard. We are bringing fast race cars to the track, and when you got fast race cars, it makes winning a lot more probable. I'm going to try my hardest to get this thing in victory lane, pull my belts tight, and let this sweet girl take me for a ride.
All right, Brian. Hey, I know that you would take a win anywhere against any competition, but as a driver looking to move up to the Sprint Cup Series eventually, you would have to think that winning against this star-studded field would certainly be a feather in your cap tonight. Would that mean just a little bit more with people like Brad and Kyle and Matt racing against them?
There's a lot of very accomplished drivers racing here tonight in Kentucky, and they don't go down without a fight, but if the fight's what they want, the Shore Lodge team's going to give it to them. We're going to battle them hard all night, and hopefully we can end up on top, get a win for a Nationwide Insurance Series regular, and have some fun and do some celebrating tonight in Kentucky.
Hey, man, love that attitude. Good luck out there tonight, and we'll look forward to talking to you later on.
You guys have fun up there.
Sounds like he's ready.
Brian starting in 5th position tonight, carrying, obviously, one of our ESPN high-definition onboard cameras for this race. Brian has our Sunoco onboard camera aboard his machine. Ty Dillon's got a Nationwide Insurance camera. Regan Smith, a Nationwide Insurance onboard. Chase Elliott's got the Napa onboard camera. Elliott Sadler has the Goodyear onboard. Brad Keselowski, the Ford EcoBoost onboard. Paul Menard's got our Chevy onboard, and Kyle Busch has the Toyota onboard camera. And those onboard cameras, part of what you can see on NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy, enhanced race action tonight live from here at Kentucky Speedway. So while they work the parade and pace laps, gives us a quiet moment to get some final stories from the pit lane. Jamie, you're first.
Well, Brendan Gaughan waited 98 races over the course of 13 years to get his first ever Nationwide Series victory last weekend. And he told me that was a breakthrough for him and longtime crew chief Shane Wilson. And both proceeded to tell me that the car they brought here tonight is capable of another win. They love this setup. And oh, by the way, this happens to be one of Brendan Gaughan's best tracks. In 3 starts, he's finished in the top 5 all 3 times. Mike Massaro?
Thank you, Jamie. Although Kyle Busch qualified second, don't be fooled. This has not been an easy day for the 54 team. No, sir. In fact, just before inspection this afternoon, the team discovered a crack in the rear end housing. They worked on it all day. It paid off in qualifying with a very strong effort. But the real test will be tonight as Kyle Busch seeks his 4th win of the season. Dave Burns.
Mike, let me tell you, things are happening pretty quick for Regan Smith right now. His crew chief, Ryan Pemberton, told him it clouded up here. It got a lot cooler quicker than we thought. So Regan said, well, that's good. We'll know what to do with our car sooner. A little bit of mystery here. But then with the cloud cover, he took a tear off his visor. And he said, it left all the sticky on there. I may need a pit stop soon to get this thing cleaned off. He does have a rag in the car he said he might try to use, but not a comfortable thing for the driver right now, AB.
And you can see it right there on our onboard shot, Dave. So Regan Smith dealing with that. Let's see what Chase Elliott's up to aboard the 9 car in 6th position on the grid.
It's been a long couple days, but we're not going to give up here. We got a good starting spot. Chase is going to give us his best effort, get us up front, and we're going to do our jobs in the pits, and we'll give him the best car possible. 200 laps here. Give it all we got.
Update on the 9 further from Jamie.
Well, a little issue on pit road. They noticed the guys went over the wall and they were going to add some air pressure to the right front, and they couldn't add any of the air. The problem was the valve stem they discovered had a small leak in it, so they couldn't add any air. So what they did, it was approved, of course. The tire and wheel went back to Goodyear. They were able to replace the right front, but they said it's a great catch now until they try to do that under a pit stop, Alan, and try to add the air, and no go.
A couple things, Jamie. First of all, a catch now on that, catch now on the 54, and that rear end housing crack, because that wouldn't have lasted very long when the race started either.
And that would have been a kind of a catastrophic failure if that rear end housing would happen to fail. That was a good catch by the team.
So get ready to go. Here at Kentucky, Brad Keselowski on the pole. Been a good day in qualifying so far for Brad.
Yeah, it's been good. I think practice everything. He's pretty much dominated here today, and you see he's chosen the outside. Every lane here is rough, but the outside is the least amount of bumps in it.
200 laps to make up the 300-mile distance, a racetrack where we frequently see very long green flag runs, and your car's handling over the long haul can be critical to deciding who gets to victory lane. Pace cars off, ready to go racing on a Friday night in Kentucky. Keselowski's going to lead lap 1. Kyle Busch settles into second. Matt Kenseth third. They're side by side for fourth. Paul Menard 33 inside of Chase Elliott 9.
Talk to Chase Elliott today. The thing that he was fighting most with his race car was the exit of these corners. He said the car was just so tight it was killing their straightaway speed, and they had to find something that was going to fix that for them.
Here's Menard on the move, looking inside Matt Kenseth for third place. Matt in the 20 tonight.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of these crew chiefs. They had a lot of practice time with that open test session on Wednesday, and it was really frustrating. And some of these teams, like even Kyle Busch, they could not find anything on Wednesday that made their car quit pushing. It was tight, and so they finally did make some changes yesterday and today that has helped that car. But same thing with Chase Elliott. They've struggled a lot in the practice sessions that we've had.
You heard the confidence from Ty Dillon in the 3 when we interviewed him on NASCAR Countdown about finding a way to get to victory lane here. That team and this crew chief won both races here in 2012 with his brother Austin on board as the driver.
Yeah, I think that gives him a leg up. He's trying a little 3-wide move right now underneath Chase Elliott. He can make that stick. He's going to have a pretty good car tonight.
Well, there's a lot of racing room here. There's not 3 grooves to race very good and very comfortably into these corners. These young guys are making it work, passing a veteran there.
I tell you, I like the way that 3-car looked right there, getting into the corner and being able to drive that off the bottom of the racetrack. I think that made his car look pretty good to me.
I'll just give you one asterisk. What we just said before the green flag, long haul car. It's early in the going. Let's see where he's at after 30 laps, right?
It's good now. Maybe it'll be better later.
Yeah, could be. That's what I say.
That's the way it was when they won the 2 races with Austin.
Above any speed over the whole run. Ryan Blaney, winner here in September aboard the Penske 22. This time aboard the Penske 12 and picking up a spot from last week's winner, Brendan Gaughan.
Yeah, Ryan was really fast in the first 2 sessions of qualifying earlier today. Just didn't get the lap in that 3rd session that he was really looking for. But he's had a fast car here all week.
Kyle Larson going to get a spot there also in the 42. Larson started back in 11th place. And lost a couple of spots on the break, trying to dig out some of that hole in the early laps. There's Regan Smith in the 7, the black paint scheme this week instead of the red we're used to seeing most weeks on that 7 car. What's that old saying? Don't adjust your sets. There's There's a little variety lane choice for you.
Yeah, you can see the racetrack is really dark. It's taking a lot of rubber so far this weekend. I think that's a good thing. You're going to see cars that can be able to use a lot of these different grooves, and I expect maybe sometime tonight to see that 42 push the groove a little higher than it is now.
And I think actually some cars, too, are going to push it down, too, where there is room down to the white line that they really haven't used yet. But you can almost get under those bumps at times and make a fast way around the track. As soon as they get those left side down, it's a new left side tire that really puts down some rubber. So get a little bit of that. Going to have 3 grooves before this is over, as they've been showing us.
Elliott Sadler, 11. Brian Scott, 2. Racing for the 8th and 9th positions. Sadler moving up from 10th starting spot. And Brian slipping back a little bit in this opening 9-lap run.
This is a racetrack that Elliott Sadler has always loved. We'd come over here and test when we were teammates at Robert Yates Racing, and he just would beat me to death here. It's probably a good thing he and I never had a race here, because he'd lap me, but he was just always so good, so smooth with the throttle, and just carried a lot of momentum around this racetrack, and it makes him really good. That has shown up in his results over the years in this series.
And it is the interesting thing, because before this track got a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series date, the way the old testing rules used to be, this was the place all the teams came to test over and over and over again. So the more experienced drivers have got a lot of laps here under testing conditions.
Maybe that's what wore this surface out. All the guys coming up here everywhere.
Brad Keselowski's wearing it out right now, just as the Penske 22 did in both races last year. He's out in front, but it's very early here at Kentucky Speedway. Underway tonight with the NASCAR Nationwide Series here at Kentucky Speedway. Coming up throughout the weekend, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Route 66 NHRA Nationals from over in Joliet. Qualifying, see it tomorrow night, 8 p.m. on ESPN2. And final elimination Sunday afternoon at 3 Eastern on ESPN2. Then next weekend, on to Daytona for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. The Subway Firecracker 250 at Daytona next Friday night, starting at 7 Eastern on ESPN2 and also live on Watch ESPN. 16 laps complete here at Kentucky out of 200. There is the race leader, Brad Keselowski, started on pole in the 22 and has led all of the laps so far. We saw him having a look up at the rearview mirror. That isn't the only thing he's been looking up at while he's behind the wheel of that car.
Pretty good balance to start here. Pretty happy. Joey, do you think the clouds are going to stay out? Yeah, pretty much. I see a lot of clouds. I don't see any big breaks.
Yeah, that's Joey Meyer. He's not just a spotter. He's also Brad's pilot, so he knows weather.
He better.
Yeah, he better. It looks like it is going to stay cloudy, and then it's going to get dark. So I think the track is going to stay pretty stable temperature-wise.
Hey, one thing that I've noticed, though, is they've started lapping cars already, is those guys are those slower cars are kind of driving their own line and things, and it's going to be up to Brad and these others to kind of dodge them, a lot like we talk about at Dover, where the traffic could become a factor here in determining our winner later on.
Yep. Brendan Gaughan, 62. Kyle Larson, 42. Racing for 11th and 12th. How great was that to see Brendan's win last Saturday at Road America, and just the genuine joy that long-awaited victory brought him.
He's just such a good guy to be around, and he's so happy. And, like to see that and see just how much joy that brought him, well, it just does your heart good.
Yeah, he's good for the sport, a tremendous race driver that maybe sometimes hasn't gotten enough credit for being a good race driver, and so it was nice to see. And he did a tremendous job in that rain. That was really, really impressive.
What a spectacular race it was last Saturday. And Brendan here, Jamie mentioned when she interviewed him on NASCAR Countdown that statistically one of Brendan's best tracks. By the way, he mentioned it also when we talked to him yesterday. 3 top 5s here in 3 tries in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, and of course experience here in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series also. There are the numbers here at Kentucky on Brendan, so he has reason to expect good things out of tonight. Add to that the fact that Richard Childress Racing is on a little bit of an uptick and a bit of a roll in the Nationwide Series as winners of the last 2 races, and why not have that optimism?
Yeah, Brendan's looks like he's going the right direction now, going past Kyle Larson. But I'm a little surprised that Kyle Larson is not actually moving forward. I saw him try a few different lines. He's down the bottom right now, but he was up trying to push that groove up a little bit. Dave, what are they struggling with this 42 car?
Their concern coming in, according to crew chief Scott Zipadelli, was going to be entry, but at the beginning it was all about exit, loose off the corner. That actually improved. Kyle's latest report is that his car is a little loose. Now, if Kyle Larson can't drive it, I think it's probably a lot loose.
Yeah, because he can drive a loose car. I mean, he's pretty accomplished on dirt. He can hang that thing out just about as good as any of them.
I think some of them may have been thrown a little bit of a curve with the temperature change. It has cooled off quite a bit more than they were anticipating with these cars and some things, and they don't have much time to make adjustments, and very few adjustments they can make.
Well, you're right. They did anticipate a cooler racetrack, obviously, when it gets darker and everything else. But one of the things about the setup is that as these cars go faster, they travel more. It causes a lot of problems, and so if you don't predict, how much the speed's going to increase and how much to limit that travel, you can get into a situation where your car is bottoming out a lot and losing a lot of grip.
So for now, Gaughan and Larson continue to race for 11th and 12th, but with the positions exchanged from what they were when we first rested our camera's eye upon them. Nothing changed up front. Brad Keselowski still ahead of the pack here at Kentucky. Very early on in the going tonight here at Kentucky Speedway for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Brad Keselowski out in front of Kyle Busch by 2.6 seconds. Reminder that NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy has enhanced race action tonight from here in Kentucky. Check it out again, NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy. So there's your race leader, Brad Keselowski. And there's the gap from first to second place. Legging it out just a little bit over Kyle Busch, who sees that 22 growing a little bit smaller out the windshield.
Yeah, Kyle's lost a little bit of time. I've noticed in some traffic that he caught them kind of at the wrong place, and they slowed the momentum because he was having to kind of make an adjustment in the corners and not getting maximum speed whenever they were in traffic.
There's the gap from Kyle back to Paul Menard in the 33, running third, winner at Michigan a couple of races ago. And an update on Menard from Dave.
AB, I thought I would let Paul do it. We overheard this on the radio.
Run my line, I'm just kind of a little bit free, not too bad. If I try to go a little bit harder, I drive a push into it really easy. Run lower, there's grip down there. Run a little bit freer end and tighter center.
Paul's feedback so important because for this team, actually the Richard Childress Racing team as an entirety, he is kind of the R&D car. So what he says about what they're running here is very important.
All right, so there's Paul. Again, I love the clear shields for the night race where you see those eyes from the onboard camera checking that rear view mirror and what they're looking around at while they're zipping around here at 170 miles an hour or so. Ty Dillon in the 3, running in 4th, 7.5 seconds behind. Nice move up since the start for Ty.
Yeah, he's looked very solid. I saw at one time it looked like that he may be slipping a little bit, falling back. And actually the 9 of Chase Elliott had caught up to him, but he pulled way away from him now.
Another 2.5 seconds behind Ty is Kevin Harvick running the Junior Motorsports 5 tonight. Kevin running in 5th place.
And it's just a matter of time before this car is coming to the front. I mean, Harvick's having a great year so far.
His teammate Chase Elliott is the next car in line. There's Chase, 9.8 seconds behind the race leader, but in 6th place.
Yeah, very solid for a young driver that doesn't have a lot of time on this racetrack. And you know, another situation that the young drivers have to deal with is what we've been talking about, going from that daytime into the night and knowing kind of what to expect. He has to rely on his team a lot in that scenario.
Earlier, we saw Matt Kenseth up there fighting for 3rd place with Paul Menard. Now Matt in the 20 car has slipped back to 7th place, and he's 10.7 seconds off the race lead.
Yeah, he had actually run up a little bit, pretty close to Ty Dillon. And then I don't know if his car just went off one direction or not, but it's definitely not going the right way now.
Just behind Matt, Elliott Sadler trying to close in through some of the lap traffic. Elliott running in 8th place. Whoa, hang on.
Yeah, these lap cars, I say, it's going to be an issue. There's quite a big difference in the speeds that they're running, and so you have to really anticipate because, again, a momentum track here on this mile and a half. Elliott does a good job of that. Been running a lot of his laps on the bottom of the track.
Ryan Blaney, the September winner here at Kentucky for Penske Racing, or Team Penske, as it's branded this year, is having another solid run. Ninth place for Ryan Blaney, and then rounding out your top 10 is Brian Scott, who runs in 10th position. Brian started in 5th place, and there he is there encountering that little trio of lap cars in the number 2. Championship leader Regan Smith starting the night. Regan running back in 13th place right now, Mike.
Yeah, and not necessarily happy. He knew in the back of his mind coming into this weekend this has not been necessarily his best track. His average finish here, 26. But throughout the course of the weekend, they felt like they made enough progress on this car to finish among the top 5 tonight. However, that optimism has seemingly changed.
The thing I liked about my front end this morning, I hate it in the same spots now. It's back like it was yesterday where it's just rough and tight. Boys, it'll be about track position. We just do the best you can, get a couple people out there. We'll get some in here.
Regan is saying that the nose has been unresponsive in the center. They're planning to make a track bar adjustment and take a rubber out of the right front on their pit stop right around lap 53. Alan?
So the update on Regan Smith, who currently, as they run, has a 4-point lead in the championship over Chase Elliott. He started the night with a 10-point advantage over Elliott Sadler. But we're just past 50 miles of a 300-miler here at Kentucky. There are a lot of things that can and will change between now and when the checkered flag is waved over this field. Back live Kentucky Speedway, you see the pace car in front of the field and the caution lights flashing for the first time. Debris on the back straightaway is the call, and pit road is open as Brad Keselowski leads the field here, down for what will be the first round of service we've seen in this race.
Oh boy, it'll be busy. I think you'll see a lot of jack screw wrenches turning into windows.
Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Paul Menard, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, the top 5 coming in. Dave?
Menard actually waved off on a chassis adjustment because he said it might be my line. So they're just going to take air out of the right front. His car's a little tight running 3rd. Jamie?
Kevin Harvick says he's just a little bit loose in. They just want one good adjustment, left rear wedge, 4 tires and fuel. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch waved off on an adjustment. Oh no, they just called an audible. You saw the wrench go in the rear windshield there to help his car, saying he's a little bit loose. It steps out on him. Meanwhile, Brad Keselowski, 4 tires. Car has been good, but I just heard on the radio he is concerned about the carburetor. We'll get that radio for you, Alan.
Oh, a little drag race to that scoring line, and Paul Menard's crew with an excellent stop is going to get some track position. Same for Regan Smith's crew. You heard Brian Pemberton on the radio saying, we'll get you some track position in here. They've done it on the first round of pit stops.
NASCAR Racing is brought to you by Penty's, making great food fun. Official sponsor of NASCAR in Canada.
Doubled up for the restart here at Kentucky, and a lot of track position has changed hands on that first round of pit stops, including the lead. Paul Menard, now the race leader. Ty Dillon running 4th at the caution flag, and now he's going to find himself way back in 16th place.
Yeah, things started happening right before the caution came out. You see going down the back straightaway into turn 3, trying to make a wide arc, but that's a little wider maybe than you want to be at this point.
I'd seen a few cars trying that and actually working, but he got just a little bit too high. Right here's where the real problems were, though, on pit road. You see that right rear tire gets away.
While they're messing with the right front that they couldn't get set up.
So now your tire carrier's running way behind as it comes to the left side.
Kyle Busch 2nd to 6th because,
whoops, hot getting in there. This concrete surface, not a lot of grip there. Had to back up, cost him some time.
And Brad Keselowski wondering or providing some further feedback on that 22 car.
On top of the carburetor's making me nervous. Just backfiring and feel like it's bleeding over in the middle of the corner. When I get to the throttle, it's like nothing there initially, and then it all kicks in.
See how well it kicks in here as Paul Menard leads the field back up to speed.
Say, when it kicks pretty good, though.
I'm saying he adjusted to it pretty well.
Yeah.
It looked like he's kicked in again.
Look at Kyle Larson way out there on the outside. Whoa, he was going to make that 4 wide for a second.
He's not scared. Menard fighting hard on the outside.
Yeah, this is that position that we talked about early on, about how difficult it is, even with a fast race car. You have to be mindful of this. You know, you're getting the air taken off of your spoiler a little bit in this situation, and then you hit some really rough spots entering this corner.
Yeah, that car's so good. He got a good run off turn 4 and was able to clear Paul by the time they got to turn 1 and 2. Now all Paul needs to do is try to hang on to him.
Because here comes Kevin Harvick. So Keselowski back to the lead. Menard second, Harvick third. Kyle Busch has picked up a couple since the restart. He's back up to fourth.
And you see what Harvick did, just what you were talking about, Dale. He's using that apron really in 3 and 4.
I was interested to see as they went back here and he got some track position. He'd worked his way up to the 4th spot before that caution came out. Did he have enough? His lap time showed that he was still a little bit off of what the 22 car was running, but maybe he made a slight adjustment and ready for this.
Elliott Sadler in 11 and Chase Elliott in the 9, racing for 6th and 7th places.
And this 9 car was one that I'd noticed and Andy had too. He talked about some drivers really moving up, making a really wide entrance into turn 3, trying to get a new groove up there or get some rubber down to where they can keep that momentum up.
Yeah, right now the tires are pretty good and have a lot of grips. I don't expect to see him trying to push that, but as this run goes on, I'm going to be watching for that again, because I saw something that Chase Elliott found where it was a really high entry to the corner, especially turn 3. He was cutting completely across the middle and then getting down on the bottom of the racetrack. But the tires are good now. I think you'll see him down lower on that entry.
Larson 42, Smith 7, Gone 62, Blaney 12. They went 4 wide into turn 1 on that restart. Kyle Larson on the outside, and he was looking for a place to gas it up and see if he could get 3 or 4 of them at once. And then he just saw the things kind of shaking out in front of him and decided, well, maybe that's not the smartest thing I could do.
Yeah, now last year he might have opted for that first option you were talking about and continued on. But he's learned a lot in that time, and that's why we've seen him go to victory lane a couple of times.
Ty Dillon trying to dig back out of the hole from that difficult pit stop.
It's so frustrating. You have a car like they've had so far tonight, and then you have that one pit stop where it just buries you, and it's so hard to get it back. You got to be very patient, methodical on getting these positions back, because he does have a good car.
That's 15th place he just picked up on Ryan Reed in the 16.
These two still going at it, though.
I know it's early. We've only had the initial start in that one restart, but trend, things are spreading out in a couple of laps because of the speed and the roughness and so on. And when we get cautions, and if we get a late caution, not always a statistical trend here, but if we get that late caution, you're going to have to get all you can get as fast as you can get it before things line up.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the clean air is a huge advantage in having that, and you are going to have to treat these restarts whenever they might come, just like a green-white checker, and get what you can at that time.
See, it looks like Elliott Sadler's car really is good up off of the corner. It's down in the corner, getting down in the corner. It looks like the 9 car can beat him. It looks like he really gets, the 9 car gets through the corner good that time. But Elliott's car really good coming up off the corner.
Yeah, and the one place that's a struggle for a driver here is you do so many things to make your car do what you want around the other parts of the racetrack, but most of the thing that you do is going to make you loose into turn 3. It's a very flat corner that you drive way down in, and that's where you typically find yourself in trouble, is trying to do that, and your car is the freest there, and we saw Elliott lose that spot at that very point.
Updates on both the 9 and the 11 car from pit road. First, here's Jamie.
Well, Alan, of course, this is the first time here for Chase Elliott in a nationwide car, and I talked to him this morning. He was disappointed. He said their practices have been horrible. They couldn't find the right balance, so they relied on their teammate Kevin Harvick and put his setup on the car for qualifying today. Well, the car to start out this race was a bit what he's battling now as he tries to hold off the 11, Dave.
Jamie, Chris Gale's the crew chief on that 11 car, and he told me their struggle on the 1.5 miles this year has been free getting to the center of the corner. Good news, the car they adjusted for on that first stop was a little bit tight getting to the center, and they just made a slight air pressure adjustment to help Elliott.
All right, Dave, thanks. So they continue to fight for that position at 6th and 7th places. Is he going to be able to clear him this time in 3? Looks like it.
Yeah, he had a purpose right there. He went to make that work.
It's going on a ways behind. This man, Brad Keselowski. He has opened up a 2.5 lead again since passing Paul Menard for the race lead. This 22 car for Team Penske, winner of both races here at Kentucky Speedway last year with Brad and Ryan Blaney aboard. And from pole position, Brad has led all but 4 of the laps we've run tonight. Sunday Night Baseball is from the Bronx on ESPN this week. Derek Jeter and the Yankees, and David Ortiz and the Red Sox. Wrap it up a 3-game set. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. 8 Eastern on ESPN and live on Watch ESPN. So the Yanks start weekend play 3 games behind Toronto in the American League East. The Red Sox 8 games behind the Blue Jays in the American League East. And both teams needing to kind of get a little winning streak going here. They both split the last 10 games that they've played individually. 5 wins, 5 losses. They kind of need to get going if they're going to keep up with those surprising Jays.
Yeah, those good guys in the pinstripes need to get going. They're not too far behind, but
I'll let you have that one for now. There's the lead. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Brad Keselowski leading Paul Menard, Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Busch here at Kentucky Speedway. Just shy of 100 miles in this one. We've had just the one caution for debris that came out at lap 42. Brad Keselowski's done almost all of the leading. And as we continue to work off laps on a green flag run, you can see the speed fall off as the wear and tear on these tires and on these race cars gets subjected.
Yeah, we were about 20 laps into this run, and you can see just how much the speed has given up. I think this, like we said, this track's taking a lot of rubber. You see it blackening up. But I'm going to ask you, Dale, because, when it starts to take a lot of rubber like this, can you feel the loss of grip, and do you just go searching in places that don't have rubber on?
Well, you might try a little bit of that, but what I've seen, especially with the 22 car, he's got a groove, and it doesn't seem to be affecting his car. That they've got everything pretty much set up the way that Brad wants it, and he hasn't varied from that. I haven't seen him really searching around. He's run this type of groove for pretty much the entire race so far, and his speeds, even when others start falling off, have stayed pretty much the same.
Let's go up to speed with Nationwide Insurance and check in on some of the front runners. We have talked about the first 6 or 7 quite a bit, so we're going to drop back and start with Brian Scott, who's running in 8th place. Mike?
And why not? He's looking for his first career Nationwide Series win and was awfully optimistic coming into the day. His crew chief Phil Gold told me earlier this weekend they were extremely fast off the truck. Right now, still trying to find the balance, hoping that the track comes to them. He's saying he can't really turn the car when he gets on the throttle, but the exit is better. Jamie?
Well, Ryan Blaney is in the 12th car driving for Penske tonight. He got his first career win here last September, and the driver he beat was Sam Hornish Jr. Well, the crew chief for Sam was Greg Irwin, and ironic as it sounds, Greg Irwin is crew chiefing for Ryan Blaney tonight. So far for them, though, the car has been loose. They really haven't fixed the problem, but he's hammered down. He wants to get win number 2. Dave?
So often this year, Jamie, we've talked about Kyle Larson's dirt track experience, how it helps him search out the line at different tracks. I asked his crew chief, did that help him this weekend? He said, no, something different, and it kind of surprised me. He hasn't said a thing about the bumps. He's used to rough racetracks. Mike?
Well, about 30 laps ago, Regan Smith radioed in saying that the car and the nose in particular was a little bit unresponsive. They made some significant changes over that last pit stop. Track bar up 2 rounds, a rubber out of the right front. They also picked up 5 spots during that pit stop, a credit to a very skilled pit road team, a combination of the 5 and the 48 Cup teams. Meanwhile, last week's winner, Brendan Gaughan, also another guy coming in with a lot of confidence right now, struggling with an inconsistent race car. Loose in tight off. They made a wedge and air pressure adjustment last time down pit road. Dave?
Ty Dillon's car started this run really loose, but he says it's coming to him now, and it shows by the way he's running these laps. Didn't want to be too confident about his car this weekend, but he said this is the best it started the week. They barely tuned on it Thursday and Friday, so Ty came into this race confident. As for Trevor Bayne, not so confident right now. Tight to the center of the corner to start this run, but his rear grip was better since the last pit stop and changes. He said, though, right now I cannot get to the center of the corner. Major changes coming for this group next time down pit road. AB?
Dave, thanks. Might be a little bit before Trevor Bayne gets a chance to go down the pit lane, because the trend here at Kentucky, every Kentucky Nationwide Series race has had at least one green flag stretch of at least 46 laps. 7 of the last 9, at least a 60-lap green flag run. And that first one, that was only 42 laps. What I'm saying is,
yes.
we might
have to deal with a ill-handling car for a while, and things are going to be changing. So how much of a stab do you take at it, and how big of a swing do you make an adjustment to your car then?
Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch in lap traffic, having a good race for position. This is 3rd and 4th. Harvick's team picking him up some spots on that only round of pit stops so far, and we saw Kyle Busch on the replays from the pit lane slipping through his pit box and having to find reverse and back up that cost him a few spots there. 86 car is Jake Fromm, a 22-year-old from Statesville, North Carolina, making his Nationwide Series debut. He's had a little over a dozen starts in NASCAR's Camping World Truck Series, hoping we'll see him more in the Nationwide Series as this season goes on. And for now, Harvick and Kyle Busch trying to find a way not just to keep those positions they're racing for, but how to catch up with that really fast kid in the 22. Keselowski leads here at Kentucky Speedway for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Tomorrow, you can see qualifying for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Route 66 NHRA Nationals at 8 Eastern on ESPN2, with the final eliminations on Sunday afternoon at 3 Eastern, also on ESPN2. Next weekend, Daytona and the Subway Firecracker 250. Spend part of your 4th of July with us. There'll be a lot of fireworks, both during and after the race. We're on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern time from the World Center of Racing next weekend.
Can't wait. Love restricted plate racing.
It's going to be a great night. Chase Elliott 9, Ryan Blaney 12. Couple of the bright stars of not just the future, but now of NASCAR racing. Having a good go for position here.
Blaney's been pretty patient here. I've been impressed with that. He ran the 9 car, Chase Elliott, down pretty quickly after he passed Brian Scott and was up beside him a couple of times, but put himself in that position to where it just wasn't worth pushing the issue. We've heard that he's had kind of a loose race car, and
like
he's
right here,
more chances to make this better, but he just gets to this point, just can't get down in the corner to get clear of the 9. See if he's able to this time.
That low spot you saw on the scoring serial, that was where he restarted after that pit stop. And he's gained all that ground in this run of the race, and that was a little bit of an interesting slide.
That was a slide job.
There is something in turn 4 that has caused the yellow flag to come out, and now trouble down in turn 1 as Jeremy Clements had contact with another car and got turned around. And the yellow flag out for the second time. Ryan Sieg in the 39, the other car involved with Clements on both ends of this doubleheader incident.
See him racing side by side off the corner. Sieg just gets really out of shape.
Yeah, no contact. Maybe a little air taken off the spoiler, but that'd been about it.
Obviously, Ryan didn't agree with that assessment.
Yeah, must have thought that he got hit, but he'll look back and find that was wrong. Or he may just not have appreciated the driver getting on his bumper, but it is racing.
I was going to say, he did a race. Yeah. That's what you do.
Racing for 18th and 19th place at the time.
Open. Here they come.
Second round of pit stops, and we begin with Dave.
Paul Menard was the restart leader, but he fell back to second. Remember that chassis adjustment he waved off on the first time? He'd like it now. Half a round up on the track bar. Tight race car. Jamie?
Kevin Harvick telling Ernie Koch he did not like that last wedge adjustment. It made the entry worse, just looser and looser. Try something else. Maybe track bar, perhaps they're going to try here. 4 tire stop. There's the adjustment. Filled him up with Sunoco fuel. Kyle Busch, his car has just kind of been about the same. Not exactly where they want it to be. Kind of like in practice. Brad Keselowski, 4 tire stop. Good stop. He hasn't said anything else about the carburetor, Alan.
And a lot of strategy played on the pit lane there. Look at the numbers come up.
Yeah, you see a couple of 2 tires thrown in there, but Paul Menard lost 5 spots.
So rights only for Elliott Sadler, Regan Smith, and Brendan Gaughan. Going to pick him up a little track position under the second caution at Kentucky. Campaign 300. This caution after Ryan Sieg and Jeremy Clements tangled twice. Once in turn 4 and again down in turn 1. Round of pit stops has shuffled the running order up. Our ESPN in-race reporter Brian Scott comes off the exchange in 12th.
Hey, Brian, Dale Jarrett, you have a copy?
Yes, sir, Dale.
Hey, looks like you may be struggling with your race car a little bit. I know the track's probably got a little bit changing conditions, but what issues you having with your car?
Yeah, this is not the handling that we expected to have on this Shore Lodge Camaro. It just doesn't feel like the car's really in the racetrack. It's on top. The back's not in at certain points, and then the front's really tight on another. So I'm challenging my Shore Lodge crew with trying to make adjustments to help 2 different things. This race is far from over, though. We're going to keep battling. Guys are having good pit stops, and we're making big changes. So we're going to start trying to work our way to the front here when this handling gets a little better.
Hey, Brian, in that situation, whenever you know you're getting a lot of green flag laps, might not be on pit road very often, do you take a pretty big swing at it?
Yeah, we're taking big swings. We're doing everything we can to get this car, this Chevrolet, handling like we need. We know the speed's there. If we can just get this where it feels a little bit in the racetrack, we'll start going forward.
Okay, 1 to go. Thanks for talking, bud.
Anytime.
1 to go, the signal for Brian. He said he challenged his crew. Adam Lewis carries the jack for Brian and is also carrying our over-the-wall camera tonight. Nice job.
Yeah, Brian was ready to go when that jack came down.
Yeah, Jackman's got a lot going on. He's got to pay attention to a lot of things. The tires coming off, he helps with that, getting around to the other side and paying attention, making sure they have all of those lugs tight.
I've always considered the jackman like the quarterback of the team because everything keys off of what he's doing. If nothing happens till he comes up, and he's the last word when the car comes down. It's ready to go.
So there's Adam getting ready to go. Yep, just saw himself on TV, too. That's fun. Hey, moment since they added a lap of caution to remind you that the FIFA World Cup continues with a round of 16 tomorrow on ABC. Host country Brazil, winner of Group A, taking on Chile at 11:30 a.m., then Colombia playing Uruguay at 3:30 Eastern. It's the FIFA World Cup presented by Kia. You might say that FIFA took a bite out of Uruguay's offense with the suspension of Luis Suarez. Or you might not, but I chose to. I don't know. And of course, the big match for the United States against Belgium coming up on Tuesday afternoon. Can't wait for that. Should be exciting. So free pass at this caution to Corey LaJoie, who gets back on the lead lap in 20th place. 2-time champ dad, Randy, standing not far from us up here in the control tower.
He's been a nervous wreck. Every time I look over toward the board, I can see him over there with his arms going around trying to cheer him on.
And I know Corey's granddad, Ernie Battie, watching down in Florida, was very much looking forward to following his son's racing tonight. Ernie involved in a very serious accident a while back and dealing with a few things, but very much interested in every moment of grandson Corey's racing. Well, Brad Keselowski's been dominant so far tonight. Paul Menard sure knows it.
I'm not sure what to do to beat the 22. He just, he gets it pointed a little bit better, it seems like, but he can just pick up the gas and keep it rotating on exit. So hopefully this track bar helps a little bit there in the tape. Still gonna go cool here, so anything can change up for everybody.
The evaluation of Paul Menard and his crew chief, Nick Harrison, as we look at the order from the restart. Remember, shuffled up by two-tire only choices by Elliott Sadler, Regan Smith, and Brendan Gaughan's team. Brad Keselowski now back in 4th position here as we go.
And we'll see how this two-tire decision works for some of these teams. It's a gamble.
We can look for a possible 3 wide off of turn 2 by the 22 car right here.
Sadler has to chase it up the racetrack. So Keselowski didn't have to make it 3 wide.
He won't wait long to get to the front, though.
Yeah, he had the best car already. And given that he's got 4 tires and 7 car and 11 have 2.
So Keselowski back out front. That shuffle up high. Kyle Larson got out of the groove first, caused a jam up behind him. Ryan Reed got away with it. Everybody continues, and we stay under green. But watch this, what happened just seconds ago down in turns 1 and 2. White car, top side, 42.
You can see he really gets loose right there. A lot happened.
Everybody was jumping around there.
Yeah, you can see the first one to really get out of shape was Kyle Larson.
Outside, outside.
It didn't seem like everybody did.
They all got away with it. Kyle Busch picking up a spot. Paul Menard as well on Brendan Gaughan. Slipping back. Oof, that was close back there.
Yeah. Kevin Harvick and Chase Elliott, teammates.
Ryan Blaney in the 12, right in the mix here. Chase Elliott in the 9 is 8th. Blaney and Harvick all mixing it up. Matt Kenseth and Brendan Gaughan, 20 and 62, also all for position here. And Kyle Busch. Not really been a threat to lead this thing.
No, but he has made the car better, it seems like. Watch how that last run went. It seemed like it was just a little bit better, and this one seems to be a little better too because he's able to stay out in front of Paul Menard. It's been an uphill battle for this team really since they got here on Wednesday, but they've made progress.
And Kyle Busch will be going after Regan Smith next, who I tell you, I'm really impressed. They put 2 tires on this car that wasn't capable of running in the top 10 before now. And now he's able to be not too far behind the 22 that's been dominant all night.
Still the most interesting knot of traffic, I'll call it, is that one involving Elliott and Gaughan and Blaney and Harvick. Remember, Harvick's team moved him up some positions on the first pit stop, on the second pit stop by others getting right side tires. Shuffled back a little bit.
There's a driver in Ryan Blaney that I really want to see what he'll do if he can ever get out of the pits and not be back around 10th place or something like that. He's been in traffic and having to pass cars all night long. He's got a fast car, doing a really good job with it. But if he ever starts in that top 5, it'll be interesting to see just how good he really is.
Whoa.
They're arguing over that spot. Looks like these 2 tires are holding up pretty well. I mean, Brendan Gaughan is doing decent on the 2 tires, but really the 7 car of Regan Smith is really surprising he's able to stay in second as long as he has.
Yeah, it's working right now. The interesting thing that Alan he keeps bringing it up are these long green flag stretches that we see kind of in the middle of these races a lot of times. How much will it fall off and hurt them then?
Well, we heard Ryan Pemberton, the crew chief for the 7, tell Regan on the radio earlier it's going to be a track position race. Well, the call he made gained Regan some track position. Elliott Sadler going to give up a spot there. Matt Kenseth going to take 5th place away from Elliott. So now the question becomes, do circumstances play out that end up setting the 7 back on the same tire strategy as everybody else and put them on even ground with net track position gained. Update on the 11. Speaking of net track position, from Dave.
Alan, we caught just the end of a radio transmission from Elliott. What he was telling his crew was, and I quote, "If we're going to do this, we have to make an adjustment." His car came into the pits tight. They put right side tires on it. It's still tight now, so they need to adjust for that a little bit more severely if they're going to go with a 2-tire strategy.
All right, Dave. So a look at how those who did the strategy shuffle on the first pit stops have fared so far. Where they came in from, what it gained them, and where they're hanging.
It's kind of guess whenever you do it that first time, but you're a little afraid to make too big of an adjustment when you do that till you see exactly how the car reacts to it.
Regan Smith, one of those on the right sides, hanging on to second, but here comes Kyle Busch calling. This is another one of those racetracks where Kyle Busch has won before, just not with Joe Gibbs Racing. Already got a win here this weekend. Won last night's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race. Running the triple this weekend along with Brad Keselowski. Kyle a winner here with Hendrick Motorsports back in 2004. But despite all of the success that he's had with the Gibbs team, this isn't one of the places where they've taken home a trophy.
Yeah, I remember some races where he raced Joey Logano for the win, and Logano came out on top.
Won, I believe, the first Cup race here. Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch did.
You are correct. And he just took second place away from Regan Smith. But he's got 2 8/10 of a second to track down that man, Brad Keselowski. Back live in Kentucky. Somewhat of a shocking development as Matt Kenseth has crashed. Trying to limp that 20 back to the garage area. The shocking part of it comes when you see how it happened.
Yeah, I thought for sure there might be somebody, another car, a lap car, or something involved. But you can see here, this track will get even the very best.
Yeah, you don't see this very often.
Hang on. Matt was running 5th at the time.
That thing just turned around.
It could have been the changing track conditions. They might have made an adjustment that last pit stop and gotten the car a little bit too free on the exit, obviously.
Little mixed strategy here on the caution flag. 8th place Kevin Harvick was the first one to come in. Top 7 all stayed out, and they are among a group of 12 drivers who stayed out on the racetrack here. First off the pit lane is going to be Trevor Bayne. He's going to restart 13th as we are across the midway point of the race, and we check in down in the ESPN pit studio and say hello to Nicole.
There was a certain member of this pit studio as well that was really certain when this race began that Kevin Harvick was going to win. Brad at the end. Kyle Larson was going to come in second. Well, as they run right now, Harvick is 9th, Larson is 13th. Halfway through, what do those two need to do, and the rest of the field, to get up there and run with Keselowski?
They need to figure out a way to get Brad Keselowski out of the race this evening. That would be their best bet. But if you're looking at, I think as the temperatures start to change a little bit, I think it could come into their favor. I'm looking for Kevin Harvick to get much better. Kyle Larson seems to be really struggling right now, trying to figure out how to get grip into the track, get a hold of the track. He's not advancing his position. He's staying around that 9th, 10th, 11th spot all night long. So I think it's going to be interesting, though. I think we've got a more racing coming as it gets a little cooler.
Well, it is the witching hour.
Yeah, it is. It is the witching hour, and you hit the nail on the head. The big thing that's going on right now with this racetrack is that the lights have just came on, the track has cooled down a lot, and a lot of these chassis on these drivers' cars have really changed a lot. You see Matt Kenseth just spin on his own. Generally, when it cools off with this type of car, the cars tend to get looser because it pins the nose so hard in these new cars. So I'll tell you what, we got less humidity out there. The cars are making more horsepower. The chassis are changing. Right now, with 96 laps to go, these guys need to keep up with the changing track conditions and just those cars. Well, things will change.
Let me ask you this. Brian Scott, our in-race reporter, made a comment earlier about how the car was not handling at all like they thought it would. He said, I need to make a big swing. Do you make a big swing now knowing that the track is in transition, or do you wait it out just a little bit longer?
Well, that's a great question, Nicole. All these drivers know is what the car is doing right now, so they can't make baby changes. They can't gamble that the track's going to come to them and then just sit there and not do anything. They've got to make a change knowing what they know right now. That's what I would do at least, and I think if they don't do that, they might get themselves bit.
Yeah, and that shows patience. And race car drivers, as we know, have no patience. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. Why don't they wait and see? I think they've got more problems in their setup right now that are bigger than waiting on that change to come. But I do think the majority are waiting. I think Kevin Harvick's one of those guys.
One thing
I think he'll get faster.
One thing I do want to say, a term that a lot of drivers use is the car is up on top of the racetrack. People at home are probably going, what's he mean by that? What happens is the car feels like just up on the top, skating around, doesn't get down and get grip, and that's a big problem. It's probably a problem that Kevin Harvick's having right now, Jamie.
Well, I'll tell you, he has a lot of issues right now, and it doesn't just involve his race car.
You guys got to get your together. I mean, can't decide one way or the other what the hell we're doing. Wrong adjustments. This is terrible.
And he's referring to the last stop. They were supposed to take right wedge out. They went in with the wedge, so that's the adjustment they just reversed. So not happy with the car or the pit crew, Alan.
And Kevin Harvick all the way back in 18th place as the green flag waves again, Jamie. Third place, 7 Regan Smith, 33 Paul Menard.
I think this one we could see those drivers in particular that the caution before they got the 2 tires. Once these things have, you've got a cycle on them of hard green racing and getting the tires heated up and they cool back down. They're not quite as good then that second time.
Yeah, and for the cars that took right size the last time, they have left size that have went through that cycle now a couple of times, so it's starting to show up.
So Regan Smith slipping back as both Paul Menard and Ryan Blaney get by him. Blaney now up to 4th place.
Yeah, this is what I said I wanted to see whenever he was able to start up here. Does he have the speed to contend with these guys?
Remember the split agenda there on the pit stops with the first off the pit lane, Trevor Bayne, restarting back in 13th place. Add another layer to the calculations. The weather radar, always an interesting thing to keep an eye on when you're running here on a summer night, and Brad Keselowski and his team are keeping an eye on it also.
I walked down here, got some rain on the window. Got a little, just really thin system rolling over, but it's really small. May sprinkle, but it's not going to affect us.
Okay, we'll go with that.
We are past halfway. If something should get more than just a little small. Remember, this race was stopped 30 laps shy of its scheduled distance last year by a rain shower that came in late at night with that 22 car out in front.
Yeah, and it kind of came in a hurry. I mean,
it did.
Was kind of unexpected and really saturated this place, and had another one shortly after the race was called.
Saturated your suit is what it did.
That time it did.
I'm telling you, if you weren't here last year and you don't remember it, we stepped out the broadcast booth when the race was over and instantly became wet rags, head to toe, soaking wet, just trying to get to the rental car on the broadcast booth. This was it a year ago. The red flag out for rain with 30 laps to go, and then the bottom fell out. NASCAR ended up calling the race. Brad Keselowski doing the alternate victory lane celebration back inside the garage, which was just as wet for a minute.
Yeah, that was just the middle part. The bottom fell out after we got on that golf cart.
Yeah, it did. All but 2 of those 10 laps that Brad hasn't led, or the 22 hasn't led, were under yellow. Yeah. Strong car. Let me ask you, in your times together as driver, crew chief, and so on, did you have a track or a place that just over a period of time was yours. I know, Rusty had Bristol and Martinsville and Richmond, where he went there, he was going to win. Did you ever have one of those places?
Well, I think, I would look at Pocono. We had a streak of a lot of races. I mean, I think more than 10 where we finished in the top 5 and won maybe 3 races during that stretch.
So as you went back there in succeeding times, what was it like? Was there the fear that the advantage was going to have disappeared, or when you walked in the gate, was it like, all right, we got this?
Yeah, no, I was wondering why we didn't run there for an entire month. Yeah, Fred.
My go-to place is Talladega. I've had a lot of success there. That place has been so good to me, and I still look forward to going there every time we go, even to cover the races.
Now, Jeremy Bullins and his team have got Kentucky Speedway figured out, that's for sure.
He likes all the tracks, though, Jeremy Bullins.
I know.
The drivers he's got everywhere. Jamie, they're on it again tonight.
They're definitely on it, but you guys, it's so surprising to look at the stats, how much this 22 car has dominated all year long, all the different drivers, but they only have one win to show for it. I talked to Jeremy Bullins about that this morning, and he said they are all about winning. And in order to do so, yesterday he spent all day with Brad in Truck Series practice. During the Truck Series race, he listened. Afterwards, they met, they talked about the whole race, everything to expect for tonight's race to help this car. So far, it's paying off.
Jamie, and you alluded to it, the 22 has been a factor in every nationwide race this year, no matter which driver's been behind the wheel. Last weekend at Road America with Alex Tagliani, whether it's been Ryan Blaney or Joey Logano or Brad Keselowski, but one trophy to show for it so far this season, which was at Las Vegas with Brad. Looking good for a second one tonight, but a long way to go at Kentucky Speedway before they'll hand that out. Kentucky Speedway, where the racing can be rough and rugged, on a track where the character is celebrated. Got a little rough and rugged for Jeremy Clements and Ryan Sieg earlier, and really rough and rugged for Matt Kenseth. Brought out of caution a little while ago with a crash to the inside of the back straightaway. It's been really smooth for Brad Keselowski, who's done almost all the leading so far. We've run 122 laps. He's led all but 10 of them. And Keselowski has a 2.5-second lead over Kyle Busch at the moment. Reminder to join NASCAR in honoring our armed forces by tweeting or posting your personal salute using the hashtag NASCAR salutes, or visit NASCAR.com to find out more information. Ty Dillon, Chase Elliott, 3 and 9, racing for 6th and 7th places. Yes, it's the same Ty Dillon who had problems on a pit stop earlier and went from 4th place back to 16th.
Yeah, allowed them to kind of get things back and get some track position back by staying out when a number of those drivers pitted a couple of cautions ago. And so that's helped them out and then put them back in a position to have a good solid night.
Right behind those two would be Kevin Harvick. Yes, the same Kevin Harvick that we saw go all the way back to 18th place on the last pit stop before, and now Harvick is up to 8th spot.
Yeah, he's using those fresh tires to his advantage. You can see him closing on this group, and right behind him is Kyle Larson. Those are the two that made a pit stop into that last caution to get 4 tires that have made the most progress.
Yeah, fresh tires and the right adjustments. Yeah, apparently, which can happen at times. Getting that wrench going the wrong way or misunderstanding.
Yeah, that happens. I heard what Harvick's saying, and it is really frustrating for a driver when you're calling for a change and they go the wrong way. Because you're already having an issue, and all it did was compound it, and then you're another change behind. And so, actually, put you 2 changes behind.
Principals in the NASCAR Nationwide Series Championship. Regan Smith is running in 5th position. Chase Elliott, you see there in the 9, running in 7th spot. And Elliott Sadler in the 11, running back in 10th place. Now, the driver staying out on that last caution, Andy, sets us up to an interesting position of fuel to the finish, knowing that we get a lot of long green flag runs here.
Yep, they need to make at least one more pit stop, and to see that coming in that range where they are going to be close on the on the last run too. So, pretty sure they can all do it, but you got to stretch this run to do it. At least these cars that did not pit under the last caution.
Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Paul Menard, Ryan Blaney, Regan Smith, Ty Dillon, Chase Elliott, Elliott Sadler, among the guys who did not stop under that last caution. Certainly we're not the only ones that are thinking about making it to the finish on fuel.
Somebody needs to scan that 22 and 54, you guys on Channel 2 down here, so we know where they think they can make it to here.
Paul Menard's team thinking about, let's see if we can figure a way around this.
Yeah, that's Nick Harrison. He's wanting to know what their strategy is. Let's see if he can get a window inside there to find out.
Yeah, and I can tell you one thing that I noticed right before we went to commercial that last time, the lap times, as things have cooled off, the lap times at that particular time were about 4/10 faster than what they had been running with that amount of laps on their tires before. So you're using more fuel by running faster there. But I have seen Brad Keselowski now kind of back his off a little bit, and so they might be in a situation that they're starting to save a little bit of fuel.
Ryan Blaney trying to follow Paul Menard up through some of the lap traffic here. There's Blaney in the 12.
Yeah, this is a fast race car, this 12.
Yeah.
Ryan Blaney doing a nice job. Obviously knows how to get the job done as he won here last year.
Another solid drive for the 20-year-old son of the Buckeye Bullet, Dave Blaney. And making the most of his limited opportunities in the NASCAR Nationwide Series this season. 71 laps to go, just over 100 miles. A round of pit stops will begin in a little bit. Take a break and come back for that action on the pit lane. Just past the 200-mile mark in the John R. Elliott Hero Campaign 300 NASCAR Nationwide Series Kentucky Speedway on a Friday night, with Brad Keselowski dominating this race so far in the Team Penske 22, up by a second and 9/10 on Kyle Busch in second place. At the moment, Brad has led all but 10 laps of the 136 that have been completed in this race. Chase Elliott slipping back a little bit. Kyle Larson moving up. Kyle in the 42 picking up a position.
That 42 car has about 20 laps fresher tires.
That helps.
Yep. He's keeping pace with Harvick, too. You can see Harvick just ahead of him. They're kind of pacing each other up through the field.
Harvick, the driver most forward on the fresher tires in this group that stopped at lap 103. Chasing down some of the guys that last stopped at lap 83.
Yeah, it's going to be close for those cars that pitted on 83 to make it on this one more stop. They're going to have to really stretch this one.
So the gap from Brad Keselowski back to Kyle Busch was 2.6 seconds. It went down as little as 1.2 seconds before it is stretched back out again. We're wondering how much of that might have been Kyle tracking the 22 down on handling, how much of that might have been the 22 saving fuel. Apparently we weren't alone.
Ready to save like him? No, sir. We're 15 laps shy. He won't make it to the end either. He's just been doing it all day.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if the 22 can make it. I have a feeling that they can.
First move to pit road under the green flag, Regan Smith. Mike.
And Regan Smith is one of those guys whose last stop was on lap 83. At that point, they took 2 tires only. A 4-tire change here, though, for the 7. 2 cans of Sunoco race fuel as well. They're going to pack that as full as they can get it, and he's away.
They weren't leaving until they got every bit of fuel in that thing they could.
Yeah, and it might not be enough. 62 laps they'll have to run on this tank.
While we watch the racetrack, I'm watching Andy with his calculator out. The fingers are flying across the keypad.
Yeah. Well, Regan Smith only ran 55 laps on that tank, and he has to run 62 to the finish, so safe to say he won't make it.
Yeah, and there were some caution laps in those.
That 22 is still cranking, though, and so is Kyle Busch. We'll make a few more here. I think I was really observant of Kyle. I mean, he noticed just up ahead that the 22 was saving fuel. He could tell that was happening.
Really is interesting for those of us who are non-drivers, the detail that those of you who do this behind the wheel can notice at 170 miles an hour.
And we see right here, third place has changed as Ryan Blaney's gone around the 33 of Paul Menard, but you're exactly right. And Kyle Busch over the years has amazed us in some of the things that he observes out on the track as they're running these speeds at over 170 miles an hour and just able to pick up on that and little things. And that's what makes him such a great competitor.
So Blaney to
really,
third.
I'm sorry, but it really helps you as a crew chief, though, when you have a driver that can do that.
Blaney to third, Menard back to fourth, and Elliott Sadler, the latest to make a green flag pit stop. Dave?
Here's the 11 of Elliott Sadler. Has not liked his car at all on this run. Remember, the last thing they did was a 2-tire change. The quote from Elliott, "We have messed this thing up." Mostly tight, the rear end of the car, not in the track. They're making adjustments in a 4-tire change. Sunoco fuel to get him to the end. The 33 of Paul Menard, after getting passed by Ryan Blaney, comes to pit road. He is in the 4th position. The car is going to need a track bar adjustment again. He needs to turn better in the corner if he's going to win this race. 4-tire change for Paul.
And they make sure they get that 33 as full of fuel as they can. Gasoline, the topic of the moment, including on the race leaders radio.
I'm going to stretch for you here as much as I can. If you got big gas here, let's do this. Yeah, 10-4, I'm with you. We're trying to minimize the offset from the guys that are off sequence.
Yeah, what he's saying there is they've got different tire strategies going on out on the racetrack, too. Jamie?
Chase Elliott doing a great job tonight in his first appearance in the Nationwide Series race here at Kentucky. He's saying just too tight. That's been the issue all night. They're going to make a wedge adjustment again. 4-tire stop. Greg Ives, his crew chief, back on the pit box this weekend. Had his third rating last weekend. Another good stop, 14.8. They packed a full Sunoco fuel.
And the leader, Brad Keselowski, stays on the track for another lap. A driver and a team with a good reputation for making fuel when needed.
Yeah, and Kyle Busch still out there, too. They were talking about how they were short. They weren't even close to being short. They're going to make it, no problem.
They're not 15 laps short for sure.
No. I don't know what they were trying to get across on the radio.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney was running thirds on pit road now. Jamie?
Ryan Blaney, they were just waiting to get that track position to see what they can do with it. Like you guys said, his car has been good. He's just a little bit tight in the center. His feedback has been very good. Working with the new crew chief this weekend. 4-tire stop once again, Dave.
Ty Dillon was running 5th during this run. A 4-tire change for him. A little bit slow coming around for the 3 team. He'll get a slight air pressure adjustment. Car tight in the long run. Otherwise, awesome, according to the driver.
And you saw him a little bit slow. Dave called, reflected on the stopwatch time there. Still watching to see when Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch will make their pit stops. Kevin Harvick's now running third. Here is Ryan Reed on the pit lane along with Kyle Busch. Mike?
And the 16 coming in, complaining the car's been a little bit tight, although as it's cooled down, it's freed up just a little bit. 4 tires, fuel, air pressure, and a track bar adjustment on the 16.
Well, Kyle Busch wanted to stick to what the 22 was doing, but he couldn't stay out any longer, saying he's a little bit loose into 3 and tight through the center, but good in 1 and 2. The car is turning better. 4-tire stop at 54. Meanwhile, the 22 is in as well, making great fuel mileage as he makes his way all the way down to the number 1 pit box. And Alan, I'll tell you, he didn't say a lot about his car for the good last hour. You haven't heard from Brad Keselowski as the team gets ready to go over the wall. Brad doing his best, saving that fuel all night long, trying to get his second win of the season. Of course, he won early in the season in Vegas. They work on the left side. Tires go on. They'll pack the fuel, Sunoco fuel. No changes, wipe the grill, down and away.
So Kevin Harvick is the new leader. We'll keep an eye on where Keselowski and Kyle Busch come up on the track, respective to each other, along with Paul Menard, who's been out there for a few laps on fresher tires. But there's the new leader, Kevin Harvick, who again stopped 20 laps after Keselowski and all these others did.
Menard not wasting any time getting his lap back.
Uh-oh. Brad Keselowski speeding on pit road.
Section 8.
That's a big
I saw him take off out of the pits, and it was like he never let up. I'm not sure if that's the
Too fast. Need a pass through from you.
Wow.
That changes a lot of things.
Throw that stop to 23.
That was a nice try.
You can try.
Yeah. Yeah, if the 23 is out of the race, I'd say it probably is the 22.
Brad Keselowski, who's led all but 13 laps of this race so far, now going to have to come down the pit lane for the pass penalty.
Black and white cross are meeting you here.
And so here he comes for
Way down here, 2 red.
serving the penalty. Well, we'll see how this all shakes out when Harvick and the other guys make their last pit stops. The John R. Elliott Hero Campaign 300 at Kentucky Speedway for the NASCAR Nationwide Series is now under caution. Reminder, go to NASCAR.com for your latest NASCAR information. Yellow flag number 4 for debris. Shakes things up a little bit with Kevin Harvick, the race leader, and a handful of others behind him still needing to make their final pit stop. They'll get to make it under the caution flag. There'll be a pile of people that have to take the wave around, like Brad Keselowski, if everybody on the lead lap in front of them pits.
Yeah, I think that's a big if.
Yeah, we know Harvick has to make this stop, as well as Brendan Gaughan and some of the others that had yet to do it. But I was kind of waiting to see if some of the other ones may pit again. I don't see any of them. Mike?
You know, guys, over the course of that last run, Brendan Gaughan was searching for a line that would help tighten the car up. It was way too free. His pit stop comes at an opportune time to make a chassis adjustment and a 4-tire change. Meanwhile, Brian Scott has been saying his car's been wrecking loose. They'll try to tighten him up here with an air pressure adjustment, 4 tires and fuel, Dave.
Trevor Bayne is up third for a track bar adjustment, 4 tires and Sunoco fuel. Jamie?
Kevin Harvick been very frustrated with his pit crew and the wrong adjustments all night. And Ernie Cope said, we're not going to put a wrench in it. They only made an air pressure adjustment, 4 tires, and filled them up with fuel for Kevin Harvick.
So that's got everybody good to go to the finish on fuel. Question is, how's the track position going to shake out when they line up for the restart? We'll let them do all the repositioning and waving around and all that and set up for the restart when we come back to Kentucky Speedway.
NASCAR Nationwide Series at Kentucky is brought to you by Comfort Suites, your sweet success.
Several interesting things to update you on here at Kentucky Speedway as we get ready for the last 40-lap run to the checkered flag. Yes, those are raindrops you see on the camera lens there. There were some big drops that were falling a minute ago. Just as quickly as it started, it stopped. And they are getting ready to give the one-to-go signal and get the field lined up for the restart. The race leader is Kyle Busch, who will, after the exchange of green flag pit stops and then the yellow flag and the yellow flag pit stops for the guys on the other schedule, come out of this thing with the race lead. Paul Menard, Ryan Blaney, Kevin Harvick, and Trevor Bayne will round out your top 5. Harvick first off the pit lane from the guys on the caution flag stops. You are going to see some wave arounds here at the one-to-go, including Regan Smith, Chase Elliott, Ty Dillon, Elliott Sadler, Brad Keselowski, Corey LaJoie, and Chris Buescher, who are all going to get the wave around under the caution flag. Kyle Larson gets the free pass at the yellow. He'll be in the lead lap group as well. So here they go around the pace car, including that white and black Mustang right there, who has led 138 of 160 laps tonight, and now finds himself in 17th place with what will be 39 laps to go.
Yeah, we're getting ready to find out just how fast that 22 car is.
I'll finish that thought in a minute. First, let's check with Jamie.
Well, his teammate is Ryan Blaney, and Greg Irwin's calling the shots for Ryan for the first time. So you guys finally got that track position you wanted. Everything else has been pretty solid. Now you got the 54 right ahead of you. Do you guys have anything for him?
Yeah, I feel like Ryan's doing a terrific job, and we're one of the only cars that seem to be able to make our way through traffic. obviously it's kind of cycled out here, put us back up front, and we just need to nail a good restart. And I think our Snap-on Tools Mustang will have something for him. So Ryan's won here last year in a real close race with Sam on the restart, and look forward to doing it again. So no points at stake for the 12 car. We're going for the win.
All out, going for the win. They're doing great together so far tonight, Alan.
All right, Jamie, thanks. Here's the thought I had. Alex Tagliani in the 22 on the green-white checker last week for Penske, and that charge from 15th up to challenge for the win. That 22 car's been pretty fast all night here. I'd be watching that car on this restart to see how many wide he goes and how many he gets in the first couple laps.
Yeah, I think he's going to have some help with a couple of cautions maybe to get back in contention. But this 12 car, his biggest obstacle right now is getting by the 5 car, Kevin Harvick, on this restart.
Paul Menard has trouble getting going, stacks up the inside lane. Trevor Bayne with a move low.
Harvick working on the 33 of Paul Menard. Paul Menard's got about 13 more laps on his tires than does Kevin Harvick. See, Harvick's going to be able to make this pass.
Yeah, that could be a big factor here. Plus, he's got those adjustments back right. His car was good last time. But the more they race side by side, the further that Kyle Busch is able to get out ahead of him.
Looking for some running room in that 22 on the right.
Squeeze.
Wow. And 3 wide on the left. Take your choice there. 99, James Buescher was the one with the bold 3 wide inside move in turn 3. Keselowski up to 11th.
Yeah, he's moving at a high rate of speed and passing a lot of cars. He will have to have a caution to help him have any chance at all at this. And some of the racing I'm seeing, he's going to get that caution.
I think he might caution one. Well, he slides him through him.
31, Dylan Kwasniewski, that is for position.
Kwasniewski having a good solid night here. Running. We saw him earlier on a restart, getting kind of a part of a little scrape up there, but has rebounded from that. He's got a nice top 10 going right now.
So Keselowski up to 9th place now, while Kyle Busch now sees Kevin Harvick as the one behind him in 2nd place. Harvick with 10-lap fresher tires, then Kyle Busch.
Yeah, but Kyle Busch has that clean air on the nose, and I think he's made some good adjustments tonight.
Yep, that 5's getting bigger in the mirror of that 54 right now.
Yeah, about 2/10, a little less than 2/10 a lap. That time it was almost 700, so he is tracking him down.
Yet that rate will be more than enough. It's a matter of what he can do when he gets there. Kyle Busch, not the easiest person to pass.
But hey, Harvick's pretty good too.
Earlier today, Adam Stevens and the Joe Gibbs Racing team preparing their car to go to technical inspection before qualifying found a crack in the rear end housing. Fortunate for them that they found it then, because it's not something that would have lasted long in the race had they not discovered it. Made the repairs, went through qualifying, and here they are leading the race, but Kevin Harvick is there in the 5. Ryan Blaney, Brian Scott racing for 4th on the right. Blaney bottled in on that restart, had some trouble. When Paul Menard had trouble getting going, it cost him some ground.
See Kyle Larson here. I saw the lap before this that maybe a little contact on the outside wall coming out of turn 4.
You can see the damage on the race car.
Oh.
Yeah, look, at that point, I think he had already made contact with the wall.
And for the lead. Caution, trouble on the backstretch.
That's probably still going to be Kyle Busch's lead.
Regan Smith, the championship leader, whose Kentucky curse continues.
It's junk.
A racetrack that has just been, for one reason or another, inexplainable by Regan. Just a tough one for him to get a result at. His best finished 12th, and here.
Oh, no. Ryan Reed, he's a lap down, actually got into the right rear corner.
Yeah, but I don't know that you can blame that on Ryan Reed.
Not 100%, but I think Regan was expecting to get a little bit more of a courtesy there.
Probably so.
Don't mind up out there. 16's out there.
You know, I mean,
Coming there.
yeah, he came
Keep
over.
coming, keep coming. Caution's out. Caution's out.
Yeah, I mentioned the difficulties that this racetrack has presented to Regan. It was a year ago when they wound up back in the garage with the broken suspension parts or suspension mounts. Had to make repairs on that 7 car. And by the time they got it done, he returned 18 laps down and finished in 30th position, and his championship lead went from 28 to 8 over Sam Hornestad a year ago. Tonight he came in with a 7-point lead in the championship, and now has a damaged car.
The rear looks okay.
They're gonna hustle here, try to keep him on the lead lap if they can, or at least try to minimize what they do lose. I think they have actually lost a lap.
Right side, look, guys.
At this point.
It looked like a situation that I don't know if the spotter was a little late with his information or the driver just took it upon himself. I was interested to see if some of these people that's got some tires left, if they might come down pit road.
Here comes Chase Elliott.
But it looked like Regan just thought that maybe that he had enough of a run and would get a little bit of help from the 16 car on the exit.
Ty Dillon 11th place, the first one in. Dave?
And crew chief Danny Stockman felt like that was far enough back to where if they didn't pit, we'd be, quote, a sitting duck. So they're going to come in and take on, looks like 4, a full set for Ty Dillon and Sunoco Fuel. Jamie?
Chase Elliott, great job tonight. They had 1 set of sticker tires. You see the stickers going on right there, working on the right side. They'll put 4 on, fill them up with Sunoco Fuel. Doing a heck of a job tonight in his first race here in Kentucky.
So the championship leader starting the night, Regan Smith, involved in an incident that puts us under caution and sets up a sprint to the finish. Ouch. In 7th place, Kyle Busch, the leader. Kyle Busch sailed that car off into turn 3 to squeeze ahead of Kevin Harvick and hold the lead.
Well, Harvick's car's been good on the bottom for most of the night, and Kyle Busch took care of that matter.
I don't think Harvick's going to give up, though.
Last week's winner, Brendan Gaughan, running 3rd. Here comes Keselowski, 3 wide down the backstretch.
That's one way you can get there, 2 at a time. Perfect scenario for a driver that's trying to really go forward. Fast car, 2 cars in front of you, racing side by side. You get that huge draft to go by both.
Trouble. Dakota Armstrong in the wall, cautions out.
Just what Brad Keselowski needed right there, too. Just as he was able to pick 2 cars off and get up in the top 5.
Okay, hook you left here if we can. Hook you left.
6th yellow flag, Dakota running in 16th place. And the back end of that machine all wrinkled up now.
Watch this. Looks like it might have possibly been something on the track or something. Look at Elliott Sadler in the 11 there. It's really loose.
Yeah,
the 43 spins out right behind him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's something on the track or whether they just reacted to Elliott Sadler. Obviously, Elliott gets out of shape.
Hang on. Keep it up there. All clear. Clear's in. Clear's in. Yellow's not out yet. Yellow's out. Yellow's out.
Now tough break for Armstrong. Good break for Brad Keselowski again.
Oh, this thing's working out just like he planned it. At least after his little penalty on pit road.
Yeah, not with us earlier. Brad started on pole and was dominating this race. Completely dominating this race. At one point, it led all but 10 laps of the race, and that was through some green flag pit stops. Just totally out in front. But then, a green flag pit stop for the 22 went wrong. What was supposed to be his last stop of the race at lap 148 got caught for speeding, had to do the pass-through penalty at lap 151. It set him all the way back to 17th in line. A couple of caution flags have allowed him to make a dash through. He went from 17th to 7th in the first little burst of racing between yellows, and now in this last one from 7th up to 5th, and he's going to get another shot at it here when they double him up to go back racing after the cleanup out in turns 3 and 4. Led 138 of the first 148 laps of this race, did Brad. A moment of remembrance. 2011 race at Kansas Speedway when Brad led 173 laps but had to go back to 14th and got back to the lead from there in 4 laps to score the win. Can he have another such spectacular recovery tonight here in Kentucky? We find out next. Quick reminder as we're doubled up for the restart. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Route 66 NHRA Nationals. Qualifying tomorrow, 8 Eastern, ESPN2. Final elimination Sunday, 3 Eastern, ESPN2. And next weekend, it's the Subway Firecracker 250 at Daytona for the Nationwide Series. Our coverage at 7 Eastern on ESPN2 and live on Watch ESPN. 21 to go when they get the green. Brad Keselowski now running 5th.
You got a copy, bud? Sir, we're not getting beat tonight. You hear me? I feel you, bud. I feel you. It's our shot right here.
He's got a few to pass yet. Kyle Busch leading, Kevin Harvick second, Brendan Gaughan third, Paul Menard fourth, then Keselowski in 5th.
It'll be important not to lose any spots from that 5th spot if he's going to have any shot at winning this race. Kyle Busch, a great restart right there.
Ryan Blaney, a little block on Ty Dillon.
Let's see if Kyle Busch can hold off Harvick now. I think he can. He's hanging.
It's exactly what these other guys want to see, not let them get away, see if they can make a move. Paul Menard looking to strike.
Still a lot of racing to go. 20 laps left. Keselowski did, in fact, lose a position on the restart. He's back to 6th. Brian Scott ahead of him. Can Harvick stay inside of Kyle Busch in 3?
He makes a big charge into the corner.
Yeah, but you can see Kyle Busch get back to the throttle and is able to stay up beside of Harvick. Not going to let him have that spot yet. Now, that'd have been about a photo finish.
Paul Menard looking for some racing room.
Brendan Gaughan right there, too. Last week's winner.
And Keselowski back by Brian Scott to 5th. Look at this race for the lead.
Yeah, Harvick's going to have to do a little protecting right there. He couldn't afford to stay down there, or he was going to lose the 2nd spot.
He might anyway. Paul Menard's all over him.
Harvick's car's so good down the bottom of the track. Keselowski not going to be able to waste too much time here in trying to get by Brendan Gaughan if he's going to have any shot at winning this.
Too many more laps go. He's going to need another caution. Here he looks under Brendan for 4th.
Yeah, his biggest thing right now is he just can't race side by side very long. That just slows you down. He's going to have to beat as you can see, now he's able to clear him. He can make his entry that he wants into turn 3. Keep the momentum up.
And Harvick keeping the pressure on. Kyle Busch up front.
Yeah, he would like to see those two get side by side one more time. That would certainly help his cause. And speaking of Keselowski here.
Yeah, just that little bit of side-by-side racing you were talking about, DJ. And look at the gap, how far back Keselowski and Brendan Gaughan are now from these two.
Yeah, and you saw what it did when Kyle Busch and Harvick were side by side. The whole gang of them caught up to him. Now that they're single file, they're able to stretch it just a little. I really believe Harvick has the best car of these two.
Clean air's king.
Yeah, winning right now.
Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson. That's for 10th place. Move Chase Elliott up a spot.
Now, he and Elliott Sadler trying to take advantage of the problems that Regan Smith had. That just moved Chase Elliott into that 10th spot. Sadler outside the top 10 in the 15th spot right now.
So right now, Chase Elliott reclaims the championship lead as they run, but still got 15 laps to go. Kyle Busch running a faster lap time. Lap time than both Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski.
Harvick has 10-lap fresher tires, but the longer they run, I think that advantage is kind of wearing off.
Yeah, and after having a restart or two, you get that cycle on them. They're just not quite as good. That equals things out quite a bit. This is just Kyle Busch right now. I think you're right. Kevin Harvick has a better car right now, but it's not that much better. But Kyle Busch being out front, having the clean air and the ability that he has to use that.
He does such a good job of managing the lead. When he gets it, he can just, the way he runs his line, the way he can take the guy's line away from him, that's chasing him down, and to use his car to create dirty air. He's really good at this.
Yeah, we saw Harvick those couple of times really dive off into the corner. Looked like that he was going to get clear, but Kyle Busch, not letting that affect him, got out of his normal spot, but right back to the gas just so he could make sure he could at least get back to the quarter panel of Harvick and not let him get away, and it's worked for him so far.
See the wounded car of Regan Smith on the bottom throwing a few sparks.
I think that was Harvick saying he's too tight now, that the yellow flags have taken that advantage away.
Yeah, those cycles on the tires, and he had caught Kyle Busch before that couple of yellows ago came out, and was actually had the lead, but the caution had come out, and they cycled Kyle back up front. I think it's pretty frustrating, to know that he had him where he wanted him, and those cautions kind of killed his momentum. Speaking of momentum, here comes Chase Elliott with a head of steam.
That's kind of the game, isn't it? Racing?
Yeah.
If you knew how it was going to play out and when the cautions were going to fall, you could plan accordingly.
Look at Chase Elliott driving that thing.
He's driving it. They came in and got tires. Looked like they made a little adjustment trying to get him back up and get some more points. So this is a time that, as a young driver, you want to be aggressive and you want to get as much as you can, but one of your opponents for the championship has had a lot of problems, so you take advantage of that for a good night. Careful, right here.
Look out, look out. Both of them way up the racetrack. Bain in the wall, caution is out. And these two guys tangling, racing back behind the leaders,
bad there.
are going to reset the picture for the race win. I don't think that's the last of the contact between these two cars.
No, Trevor Bain not very happy, but that's the type of racing. We talked about it at the top of the show here, that's what happens, right? On the bottom, you've got a young driver. He's got tires. He knows that he's faster than the 6 car. But you just have to you have to put the big picture in perspective here. You're not going to win the race from that spot. Yeah, 1 point would be nice, but this is a night when you can really capitalize and get yourself back atop the standings.
Yeah, he really dodged a bullet, not for both of these cars not to crash hard.
So racing for 9th place.
These guys just drive in and wreck me every week. It's ridiculous.
Trevor Bain's radio, and you can see a pretty good bit of damage on the right side of that 6 car.
You can see right here that Chase Elliott, he was starting to get loose. He tried to really drive down in there. Does a great job of saving this, but it puts Trevor Bain in a no-win situation. He did a great job not crashing his car.
You can see almost immediately on the turn-in, this 9 car gets sideways. You see the front tires turn to the right, trying to chase it.
And I love the aggressiveness of Chase Elliott, but in this situation, when you've got a chance for a big night, don't put yourself in that position and lose a lot of points.
He got away with it. It should have been a big wreck.
Ken Schrader's thing about 8 tires are better than 4 right here.
He needed all 8.
Got inside, clear. Caution.
Trevor Bain has every right to be upset. But I mean, all he was doing was racing hard for the position.
Your right front fender is damaged, of course, at about 1 o'clock.
So up front, while Kyle Busch had managed to hold off Kevin Harvick and get away a little bit, now he's going to have to do it again on another restart, and Brad Keselowski is going to have another shot, this time from the outside row. In all those... pardon my laugh.
I think caution's out in the booth here.
That's the fire alarm going off upstairs in your broadcast booth. I think that's a first.
I thought we'd seen it all
over all these years. Anyway, all the 3 prior restarts, Brad had been on the inside lane. Didn't have the chance to try and make that big sweeping three wide run around the outside. He's got a chance now. He's going to be in the outside lane for this restart. Downstairs, Jamie.
Jeremy Boland's over here calling the shots. You guys finally have a restart here on the outside. What are your chances? Because this is going to get crazy with him.
We got a good car, so chances are pretty good. We just got to make this one count. We're finally in position where we're on the top. Every restart before this, we've kind of had to settle in and get to the top where we could get a run on guys. So hopefully we can make this one work for us to make it count and kind of overcome the mistake we had earlier and get this win.
All right, Brad Keselowski restarting 4th. Let's go to Nicole.
Brad Keselowski, as Rusty just said, has taken a lap or so to get up to speed on these previous restarts. Is that a track position thing, or is that the car?
I think it's just the car. I mean, his tires, it took a while to get up to speed, but one good thing for Keselowski right now is that he's starting that outside. He kept starting on the inside, got the car bogged down. He couldn't get it going, but I like his position right now on the outside, second row. He's got another shot at this thing, guys.
No, I think he does, but I like my prediction from earlier. My guy has gotten into the picture talking about Kevin Harvick. Kyle Larson's struggle. I'm still riding with Harvick.
I wouldn't count out Paul Menard either. Dave Burns.
Well, Nicole, Nick Harrison calls the shots. How much does Paul have left for him, Nick?
We've had a real fun night, run up front all night. We had stayed out with the 54 and 22 earlier in the race when the 22 got their penalty. But the 5 and 54 seemed to be a little bit better on the early run. We can start creeping back up on them on the late run, but we're hoping for them to race really hard and give us another shot right here.
Race hard in front of him, Jamie.
And Adam Stevens for Kyle Busch. What do you think you have now? I know you're shaking your head when that caution came out.
Yeah, didn't want to see that. You know, we had a dogfight there going anyway, and there's no doubt Brad has the best car, and the further he is behind us here, I think the better. There's just a little too much excitement in the Nationwide Insurance Series tonight.
Don't like seeing that 22 right behind the 54, Alan.
Now, Jamie, here we come to a restart with 5 laps to go in the race tonight here at Kentucky Speedway. And some of the best in the business slugging it out up front. The 54 is Kyle Busch, the race leader. He's chosen the outside lane for the restart. He's got Kevin Harvick in that blue 5 to his inside, and the driver who dominated the race until getting a pit road speeding penalty earlier, Brad Keselowski, in that white and black 22 outside of row 2 with a shot at him here and just 5 laps to go. How's it going to turn out? Here they come. Through to the lead.
Here comes Keselowski.
Have any shot, he's going to have to clear this 54 down in 1 and 2.
tries to slide in front of him.
Didn't happen, but nope. Kevin Harvick loving what he's seeing in his mirror right now. I believe he's got him now, but does he have enough time?
3 laps to go. And there's the gap. Kevin Harvick, the new leader. Brad Keselowski back to second.
I think Brad might get there. I don't know if he can pass him or not.
Tell you what, Harvick was ready to go on that restart, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he had made his mind up. He was going to take that lead.
Yeah, that was his shot. He knew that he had to make it happen. Paul Menard passing the 54. Kyle Busch are trying to right now.
That's for 3rd place.
They're running some of the fastest lap times of the night right here.
Wow, Kyle held him off. Sports Center's next. After the final lap and a half here at Kentucky. Kevin Harvick out in front. Does he get to the white flag before a yellow waves? If so, then we're on the last lap of the race.
Yeah, I don't know if Keselowski can catch him now.
White flag.
1 lap to go.
Harvick said, I worked too hard to get the lead to give it up now.
A race that at one point saw Kevin Harvick have troubles on pit road, fall as far back as 18th, cursing his crew on the radio, saying, what are you guys doing? Well, they got it right when it counted most. And here he comes for his 42nd career win in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Kevin Harvick takes it tonight in Kentucky.
Yeah.
The man who dominated the night has to settle for second. Brad Keselowski with a congratulatory wave to Kevin Harvick, who picks up his 2nd win of the season. He was the winner of the very first NASCAR Nationwide Series race here at this track back in 2001. Now in 2014, he picks up another.
He earned this one.
Yeah, he did that. After that restart, too, and I know that we'll look at the championship battle, but Elliott Sadler drove up to 10th, and Chase Elliott finished a couple of spots behind him, so Elliott's going to be the points leader. Elliott Sadler. How impressive this Junior Motorsports operation this year.
The smallest mistakes.
Yep, that's a tough loss for Brad. He had a dominant car tonight.
He led 138 of 200 laps, has to settle for second. And for Kevin Harvick, a restart with 21 to go. When he tried and tried and tried to get by Kyle Busch for the lead and couldn't clear him, he got a break when the Trevor Bayne Chase Elliott tangle happened, and he had another shot at a restart with 5 to go, and this time he made it stick, and it was enough to get away from Kyle Busch and hold off Keselowski and score the win. Talk to Kevin when he gets to victory lane. First, let's hear from the runner-up. Dave?
Well, Brad, we heard a humble you on the radio after the race. Talk about that speeding penalty on pit road and ultimately what it did for your race car.
Put us a bit behind, but, you know, we got to give credit to Kevin and his team. They were really fast there then. I wasn't gaining on them, so we needed a little bit more, I think. If I'd have been able to stay in the lead, I might have been able to use the clean air, but he was definitely a little bit faster at the end, so they deserve credit. But great night all around, and qualifying the pole and lead a lot of laps, just one spot short of where we want to finish with a discount tire Ford.
Brad Keselowski, he said on the radio, my bad on the way in, and of course he's admitted to it already, guys.
That said, what a race car that team had prepared, and what a charge from 17th back to second.
Yeah, that was impressive. And, you know, sometimes as a driver, you're going to make those mistakes, and then, you know, you have to look in the mirror and say, hey, I made a mistake. We all do it, and it happens, but a great charge back towards the front.
Well, Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch and many of these same drivers will be in Daytona next Friday night. The race on the world center of racing, the big fast 2.5-mile track with the drafting and so on. Then on to New England, Chicagoland, and the Brickyard in upcoming months. Join us at the track, NASCAR.com/tickets, or the number at the bottom of the screen. Got a lot of great racing to go over these summer months.
Oh, man, I look at those next 8 races coming up, just how different all of those tracks are other than the road courses, but those road courses are completely different. It's really going to shake things up.
It'll be a lot of fun. And Daytona next Friday night on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern Time. Always a spectacular night. That it falls on the 4th of July makes it even better. The great tradition of stock car racing at Daytona on Independence Weekend. Well, here tonight at Kentucky, Kevin Harvick certainly had his ups and downs during the course of this race. At one point, having to come back down pit road to undo wrong adjustments made to his car. He went as far back as 18th at lap 103, just past the halfway point of the race. Now he's in victory lane.
A nice cold one in his hand, big smile. He has crest on the car for the first time, so, you know, the pearly whites paid off here. Kevin, what a night for you. First off, you guys had some mistakes on pit road. You let him know it, but you guys were able to rebound. How did you do that?
Yeah, I kind of got into him pretty good. We made a lot of mistakes, and just a frustrating place to race and frustrating weekend. But in the end, we had a good restart, and they made the car better there at the end. Just got to thank everybody from Kroger and Prilosec and Crest, everybody from Bad Boy Buggies, and all the people on this car who make it possible. Armor, Hunt Brothers Pizza. This is a lot of fun.
Kevin, tell me how influential it was for you guys to decide to pit 10 laps later than the 54. You had fresher tires, and he opted to restart on the outside where your car was better on the inside. How important was that?
Well, I was just saying it was better on the inside because I really wanted to start on the outside, so I was hoping that they might be scanning, but that didn't work out. But we were kind of on a different strategy there, and wound up it kind of worked out there where we were able to have fresher tires there at the end, and in the end we got a good restart, and we're able to get out in front, and the car was a lot better.
You know, it's been 13 years since you've been to Victory Lane in the Nationwide Series here. How does that feel?
Oh, you're trying to make me feel old, aren't you?
Got a little gray in the beard. Congratulations. Kevin Harvick gets his second win this year.
What a night. Final thought?
I think the story is the 22 dominate, not winning again. But the thing that I look at, the 3 cars back in the championship battle by the 7 having problems.
Yeah, it did, but it was just all about execution. You can have the best car all night, but you have to execute. It's too competitive in this series.
Well, Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick will certainly be factors in tomorrow night's NASCAR Sprint Cup race here, as well as they are both qualified well. Sports Center coming up next. Daytona next Friday, 7 Eastern Time, ESPN2. See ya.